Hi, and welcome to this episode of the podcast of the Engaged Church Network. I am Mike Glenn. I am the president of the Engaged Church Network, and we get together every so often with friends of ours, and we talk about those things that are of interest to pastors, church leaders of the local churches. Today, I'm honored to have with me Dr. Thomas West. Dr. Thomas West is the pastor of First Baptist Church, Nashville, in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. He grew up in Auburn and went to Auburn, and we try not to hold that against him. Try to be open-minded on this podcast. From there, he went to Southeastern Seminary, getting his PhD in systematic theology, and has pastored a variety of churches. Before he was at Nashville, he was in London. I find it interesting that to really get a good job, you had to leave the country. But we don't.
Don't tell on them, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. So, Thomas, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thanks,
and
Pastor.
Welcome to
Happy
Middle
to be
Tennessee.
with you. Thank you.
You've been here a year and a half.
Yeah, 12 months and a few weeks. I preached my first sermon in residence Easter Sunday of 2024.
Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things about you is that you planted a church in London, England.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I want to talk about that aspect of your ministry and your history is we're always told that Christianity is 20 years, whatever, a generation ahead.
Safe to say.
And we can see where Christianity in the United States is going by looking at Europe.
Yeah.
So what did you find out in London that you want to make sure we in Nashville know? And what surprised you when you went to London? What surprised you when you came back here to Music City?
Yeah, love it. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here with you. Really appreciate the work that's going on around here. Happy to be partnering with you in it
great.
as well. Thank you. Mike, I gotta just say it before we even do that. Thank you for your warm welcome to Nashville as well. Landing in here, doing a work at First Baptist there. I will never forget your warm welcome, taking me to breakfast over in Brentwood, and just the phone calls and how you've timely checked in with me. I am so grateful for you. So thank you. Thanks to Network.
Thank you.
Ended up in London. I'm not going to answer the question straight away because I got to smuggle in some conversation about Leslie Newbegin. Okay.
Aha.
So Leslie Newbegin, 1909 to 1998, born in Newcastle upon Tyne, goes to Cambridge for his degrees. God saved this English kid, and he ends up going over to India as a foreign missionary for 40 years. Mm-hmm. What we know about him during this time, he was a bit of an ecumenical statesman, pastor, church planter, evangelist, caring for the poor, doing the good work. What Newbegin's really known for, 1909, 1998, is 1974, the Newbegins retired from full-time missionary work in India, and they came home to Great Britain. Mm-hmm. And when they landed in there, they started asking a question. Why is the church right here in Western culture not living with missionary urgency and zeal like the church over there in India? Mm-hmm. And then it led to these other corresponding questions. What would be involved in a genuinely missionary encounter between the gospel and modern Western culture? That's a popular question. Right. It's gotten a lot of time through people like Tim Keller of late. And I wrote my dissertation on the missionary writings of Leslie Newbegin. And part of the
who became the practical theologian.
Yeah, so many ways.
Of mission work.
That's right. That's the best way to say it.
Right.
And we ended up over there in London doing some work in the archives up at the University of Birmingham. And that's not Birmingham. Okay, it's Birmingham. And we settled into London, and my wife and I had a couple days for holiday. We were actually with my parents, and getting back from that trip, my dad called me 3 weeks later, and he said, "I got two things I need to say to you. Number one, I just want you to know if you and your wife Elizabeth ever wanted to go to a place like London to be a part of mission, as your dad, I need to tell you, I could see you doing that with your life. And the second thing I need to tell you is if you ever decide to do that, your mom and I will do everything in our power to support you financially and see you succeed." So it's like, man, where did a church in London come from? I genuinely think it came through the blessing of my father giving me the permission to dream.
Yeah, they're in Lower Alabama, having a heart
go.
for missions.
That's right, man. I mean, Troy, Alabama.
Yeah.
I love my dad. He is probably the most conservative, risk-averse human being you've ever met in your life. And for him to be calling me as a, hey, man, I could see you doing it.
Yeah.
It's powerful. So that's some of the impetus for like, man, how's a kid from Montgomery get to London?
Right.
I mean, we got a lot of those going around. And yeah, over in London, I mean, what can you say? It'll absolutely ruin you for cities. 8.6 million people. It's absolutely provocative what the Lord is doing right now. It's 51% foreign-born immigrant. Walking down the sidewalk, you got better odds of meeting someone who was not born in the United Kingdom than was born somewhere in town.
Wow.
It's incredibly global, incredibly diverse. God's doing something really special there. You know, around the time we got in there, some statistics had the churching of London around less than 2%, which is statistically unreached according to some mission agencies. Others put the number as high as 6%. And then even here in recent months, we've been seeing some delightful research coming out talking about how the reawakening or the re-enchanting, the re-evangelization of Great Britain. It's really, really great to see.
So how did you start your church in London?
We went with very much a pioneer approach. By the grace of God, reached out to some different missions agencies and tried to go here and tried to go there. And basically, what we found out is if you want to go across to London to raise your own support, pioneer and network and plant churches and catalyze stuff, you kind of got to pioneer, you got to forge a path. So we did. We found these wonderful brothers at a place called Co-Mission Network based in Wimbledon. They sponsored my visa. And we got in, and the thinking was like, how in the world are we going to do this? The accent, the American accent from the South doesn't play well in affluent London. And we sought out some coaching from some different people. The best we could work it out, we're going to have to really make our play at the school gate. So, think about this. There's no traffic. I know we were a little late getting here for the podcast.
Right,
No traffic over there. No drive time. You literally, you live, you work, you play all off of one main street or high street, and the one central school where everybody got together. You walk there from your house every morning. You walk to the school gate, and after drop off, moms and dads kind of standing around. You get to know people around the gate and go to a coffee and have an afternoon play date, and the things just kind of catalyze from there. So it's going to be relationships, and it's going to be through the kids' school. We also got really involved in the school PTA. And bit of a weird figure when people started figuring out, wait, we got a Baptist evangelical preacher from Alabama trying to evangelize this well-to-do, affluent, middle-class neighborhood in London. Had one guy actually take me out one night, and his whole agenda was to convince me that I made a massive mistake. And I was like, "Don't worry, I doubt that all the time myself."
Right, and take a number, take a seat.
Yeah. And we got involved through the school gate, and God did what He does, man. Just relationships, putting yourself out there. But one of the things, and we'll come on to this in a minute, man, over there in the UK, guys call it like Western Europe. There's no sense of build it and they will come.
Right.
There's not a hint of, well, we're this, and we'll just let them know the door's unlocked. No, man, you go out there, and the church is built person by person, conversation by conversation, contending in the pubs and the coffee shops. That's where the mission's won.
Right. So it's almost the kind of evangelism that we read about in Paul, where he went to the city and found the synagogue or started making tents, and then the conversation started there, and then
That's right.
Then next we're in somebody's house, and then from there we go on. Yeah.
And contextualizing this a little bit to like the greater Nashville area, but we can do more than that. It's really an issue of the church in the American South, largely. Secularism, cultural narratives, this and that. Largely, our dominant mode is Acts chapter 13. It's Paul in the synagogue.
Right.
It's, well, hey, a few Bible stories. Let me reference the Old Testament a few times, get you into a place of Jesus. Man, fill up the altar.
Right.
That's a lot of American Christianity in the South, Acts 13. not everywhere in America. You go out West Coast, we got a whole different ball game. And my experience leaving the American South, going into a place like London, I realized, man, we have moved outside of Acts 13. We're doing Acts 17 ministry now. We are in the Areopagus. We're in the marketplace. We're contending in a different way. We have to spend a long time talking about the reasonableness of God, the plausibility of God, the possibility of God.
Building the philosophical case before you build the theological case.
That's it. And that takes time. There's no one and done with that. There's no, oh my goodness, thank you for that 15-minute conversation. The whole thing makes sense. There's a lot of, we developed a phrase over there. You want to, in every conversation, what you're really trying to do, you're just trying to drop a pebble in somebody's shoe. And, they walk off acting like everything's fine, but you've had the smallest rock in your shoe. It affects your whole walk.
Right.
And that's what you're trying to do in these kinds of conversations every day, every interaction. I'm just trying to give you another something. I'm trying to paint the picture. I'm trying to weave the tapestry a little more day by day. And you're trying to gently bring people along. And part of our experience, the fruit that we saw came 2 to 3 years into diligent, tilling away conversations where the questions would start to really formulate. And saw a few people actually trusting Christ. And it was absolutely amazing. I feel like I've lived the book of Acts. But that Acts 17 model is, no, here's the possibility of God. Here's why this would make sense. It's cultural apologetics. And then years in, hey, here's Jesus. You should trust in him. Now, it's not to say we're not calling people to faith. No, like that call is scattered all throughout. Right. But just knowing I'm going to genuinely and earnestly give this call, it'll probably take 2 years of this, 3 years of this before faith makes sense, as it were.
See, like you, I grew up in the church with the 4 spiritual laws.
Yeah.
And that the evangelism that we were taught,
Romans Road
and all that, is you go, you make this presentation. The presentation is maybe 10 minutes long, and then somebody will decide, and you'll make a decision. After that, when I started the young adult ministry that we called Kairos,
fantastic.
I was having to go back and tell people, listen, these kids take a year or 2 to make it. They'll come back and ask you a question. And you'll debate them or talk with them, they'll disappear.
This is how it works.
And you won't hear from them for months.
Yeah.
Then they'll drop back in and go, I was thinking about what you said.
You're like, Joker, I didn't know if you were still in town.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I have no idea what we said. So if you catch me up
remind me of this.
To where we were.
Yeah.
About how long now evangelism takes because of the culture that people are growing up in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not part of the, and there is no disparaging of the American South or the church in the American South. This is a beautiful thing the Lord's given us, like all of this access, all of this mental furniture that people have. But it's just embracing. There's a lot of other places in North America, and you want to leave and go somewhere and say, man, it's not even that people are mad at God. Oh, that'd be such a delight to find somebody who was frustrated with God.
Just never think about him at all.
Never think about him. Keller would say it, right? The opposite of love isn't wrath. Are you kidding me? No, the opposite of love is that cool, passive indifference.
Apathy.
Yeah.
You don't even come up on my radar.
So I'd introduce myself to people and they're like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, what's amazing? It's like, I've never met a Christian minister before. Yeah.
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 So you spend, 10 years?
I just shot 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, I feel like I lived 15 having to go through COVID. Grade me up a little bit.
You were COVID over there.
Yeah, so.
Come back to Nashville.
Yeah.
What parts do you recognize? What part do you not recognize?
Yeah. It's amazing. You see it through my perspective. You see it through the perspective of my children. Went over there, my son Shepherd, 9 years old. Went over there as a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And just enculturated, part of this like international syndicate of mates from around the world. He's the only one with an American accent. It's interesting seeing it from their eyes, and it's like a bit coming home, for us. We just shot 5 years. What do you say? It's like, that's enough time to be away to genuinely like blur your accent.
Well, we
enough,
think he's British.
Yeah, that's it.
That's right. We think he's British.
Yeah. A little blonde kid with the flowing locks. The grandparents in Birmingham have no shot. It's like we're going to Target and I'll have whatever I want. I tell you what, coming back in, you notice You notice how the diversity hasn't made its way all the way in, and part of that is just how we're set up. We don't have near the cultural diversity of a place like London or the UK, but you do see these micro expressions of it where maybe our churches we're not as fully as integrated as we might be capable of being. So that's something you notice awfully homogenous in a lot of places. You realize it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was going to take an Acts 17 level expression, but a lot of the modus operandi is a little more back towards Acts 13. It's like, wait, hold on, let's rewind that. Yeah. But even there, you see how flimsy the foundation of Acts 13 might be if you really want to go there, because like, how well do you know the Old Testament? Like, do you know the story? And we might need to go become a little more foundational than we thought. Right. So that's something I'm starting to see here. Like, we think it's cultural Christian, but man, I met a lot of cultural Muslims in London, and they couldn't tell you the last time they picked up a Quran. Right. So you just wonder how much of that is actually on us here. It's gonna sound harsh. I mean, we're just having the conversation. Coming back into the American South, you see it pretty quickly: the wealth and the waste. Yeah. In a general sense, specifically around the church space as well. And then
my friends who have come back from the mission field are stunned at how much food is thrown away in local restaurants. Yeah. It panics. It causes anxiety for them.
Yeah, we come back and you know what we did? We brought the duffel bag, we did a big Target run, got all the stuff. But I mean, we were literally joking with ourselves, packing the night before our summer holiday here, before going back. It's like, man, we've got to be sure we're not seen to be with this much plastic because they would cancel us in Queens Park. You know what I mean? Like, put it away, don't tell them. You know, it's like doing photos, take the plastic out. Some of that. Yeah, the wealth and the waste. It does return to New Begin's question for me.
Right.
How do you get a church living in Western culture to see this as a missionary situation?
Bingo.
Because it seems like in Nashville, I mean, it's the illusion of Christian saturation.
Yeah, underline that word, illusion.
Yeah, yes. Do we really have it? Mm-mm. Do we really have robust New Testament Christianity? Do we have not this but not that kind of discipleship, or is the American story and the Southern American story and the Christian story somehow so just kind of blended up that you can't even tell the fuzzy difference between the two? Mm-hmm. I think that deserves some more attention.
There are some points of our culture with the Christian nationalism where the stuff has not just been fuzzied together, but actually stirred together in the bowl. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's like particularly pernicious expressions of it, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think a lot of that deserves some time and attention, and a lot of New Begins Project has really become mine. What would be involved in a genuinely missionary encounter between the gospel and modern Western culture? So, what's it like to be a member of the local church? What's it like to be a leader in the local church? We're giving a lot of our time and energy to helping people think through, what does the gospel have to say to my culture?
Right.
I think maybe we were a bit blinded in a lot of ways that, the gospel just blindly endorses and affirms everything in my cultural setting. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, let's go, grab a bishop from Nairobi and, someone from Australia and bring them a charismatic from Australia and a French Pentecostal. Let's get them to come have a reading of this situation. And I doubt they would see it the same way.
Right.
The only way to understand our own culturally conditioned understanding of Scripture is to read Scripture with the host of the great global church. And when we start considering different ways of constructing theology and seeing situations, we see we might actually have some blinders in our situation.
Well, we've seen this with leaders from the global church in Africa and Latin America called to account. Yeah. Certain denominations in our own nation, because of what the global church sees as a walking away from the gospel truth. Yeah, yeah. There's been bishops in Africa and church leaders in Brazil who have said this.
Yeah, looking to come in, share the gospel. Yeah, it is startling, isn't it, when you see somebody say, "Oh, where are you here from?" It's like, "Oh, I'm a missionary sent from Africa to help y'all out."
That's right. Yeah,
that's sobering.
And the number of churches in Brazil, as you know, Southern Baptists, our first big missionary effort was Brazil. And all the stories of our first missionaries come out of Brazil and China.
Yeah.
And now Brazilian Baptist churches are raising money to send missionaries back to Nashville, which funded the missionary that started their church.
That's sobering.
Yeah.
That'll wake you up a little bit.
Yeah. Now, as a systematic theologian, truth, consistent truth. I mean, some of the stories we were telling before we started the podcast was about the inconsistency of the cultural truth that we're peddled, and the hypocrisy of that is. But discipleship is so important that you and our buddy Trevor Wax have come up with a Gospel Way Catechism.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you very much. Towards the end of his life, late Reverend Tim Keller and, Redeemer Presbyterian, New York, wrote a book, How to Reach the West Again, very much drawing on Leslie Newbegin's project. And in it, he has these 6 big ideas for what it's going to take. One of them is the development of a new counter-catechesis for our digital age. Now, that sounds a bit pie in the sky. So, what are we talking about? Keller's saying social media, the dominant influence of, how much we're taking in. We are absorbing narratives from our culture all the time. We call these cultural narratives or cultural stories.
Not only that, but the social media, the algorithm, is programmed to make it addictive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you start scrolling, before you know it, your whole night's done.
Yeah, yeah. And isn't it concerning when the people who actually make the tech don't use it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
send their kids to school where you can't bring an iPad.
Stories of Steve Jobs never letting his kids have an iPad.
Right.
That's interesting. Anyways, so we took up Keller's call and we developed the Gospel Way Catechism. A few words deserve breaking down. This is very much like trying to honor the ministry of Tim Keller, answering Keller's call. It's a big part of what we did. So you kind of start breaking it down. It's like catechism.
Well, he's Presbyterian, so you're going to have those big words like catechism.
And you're wondering,
counter-catechism.
Some Baptists listening to this are like, can we do that? The non-denoms are listening to this saying, what is that?
That's right,
Catechesis simply means the teaching.
That's right.
It's a Latin word. You even see it in the New Testament. Paul's literally commending to Timothy, hey man, remember the teaching. So we got to do the teaching. Yeah. That's the catechism. It's a way of discipleship. It's an ancient discipleship tool that we actually see from the time of the Reformation, when the church was needing to reform away from the church there in Rome. It developed this new tool of question and answer sort of discipleship. It's like the OG of Bible study curriculum.
Philip Melanchthon, what's his name?
Luther and Melanchthon. That's exactly it. Yeah.
He was the one who put Luther's teachings down in this Q&A
we had these
format.
Yeah, so we have these amazing different catechetical documents, the teaching or the instruction. And the most of them that we see, they're really from the time of the Reformation, when you got guys like Calvin goes into Geneva. How are you going to reform Geneva? He wrote a catechism, then he wrote the church order, and then he got after the preaching in the city. It's a way of saying, this is what we believe. It's a way of being core, systematic theology writ small. So Keller was saying we need a new way of doing this to keep up with the digital age. And we tried to answer that call here in this book. It's forthcoming. There's a book and a workbook coming out with Harvest House, who've just been great to work with. It's coming out July 22nd. And then we just turned in the manuscript for a full children's resource that's going to come out in July of 2026. And it'll be a whole discipleship ecosystem for the whole church, the whole family. What we do in here is we essentially seek to recover a model of discipleship toned to the Sermon on the Mount, where we say, you have heard it said, but Jesus says to you. So you have heard it said, I am the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my own soul, but Jesus says I'm first. And it's a way of saying, we've really got to figure out how to tackle this narrative of self-expressive individualism. This, I'm going to be me, I'm going to do me, I'm going to feel my vibe and chase my vibe. We've got to find a way to counter that as a church. And people are like, whoa, counter, that's like so negative. Like it's not negative at all. The original catechisms were saying, this is what we believe over and against the teachings of Rome.
Right.
And this is us saying, hey, here in the American South, all across Western culture today, we got to get back to that. Because watch this, if that sounds offensive, might let you know just how mixed up these narratives have become.
Right.
And we got to get back to being able to tease these things apart. So this project is written to help untangle some of the knots, kind of comb it out once again, where we can say in a fresh way, hey, you've heard it said, well, your truth is your truth. But Jesus says over and against that. So it's a question, answer, commentary, Bible study stuff.
Since we're talking about books, the book comes out end of May.
July 22nd.
No, my book comes out end of May.
I know about that. I'm messing with you. We ready? We're gonna get it.
We're gonna get in this word about the book. So
come on.
Preaching in a post-truth world.
That's it, Mike. You're all over it. This is in that stream.
And my point is, you and I, as pastors, stand up in the pulpit, hold the Bible, and say, "This is the Word of God. Yeah. This is the truth of God." The congregation's going, maybe.
Yeah, that's right, 100%.
But they have encountered all kind of truth claims.
Yep.
And the thing I like about this idea and this catechism is the clarity and the simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what you've heard. Now this is what it says. This is what you've heard. This is what it says.
That's right.
Love that. I love that.
Thanks,
concept.
Pastor.
Okay.
It's very much systematic theology, writ small.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to go tackle Wayne Grudem's systematic theology. We just condensed it, got it down to 50 installments right here.
Yeah, one of my real frustrations right now is we had to carry around those theology books when I was in school.
Yeah,
and they're 6-7 inches thick and doorstops now, and now it's all on digital, and you just
it's all right there.
Yeah,
got a whole library in your pocket.
Library.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to deal with that. That's one of my pet peeves. Now you've been in America over a year, and now you are a missionary. Literally, if you think about it, to some of the people who give America its language.
Yeah.
Some of the songwriters we know, some of the musicians and entertainers we know, come up with these phrases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you're their pastor.
Yeah.
You're their teacher. So what's on the horizon for First Nashville?
Yeah.
What's your passion for that?
Yeah. In so many ways, going to London, it was really a Tim Keller center church way of understanding it, or a theological vision that really took us over there. It's really the gospel movement in the city, like all working together. And that's a lot of what I bring to the corner of 7th and Broadway. And yes, you're exactly right. World-class music right across the streets, out the view of the Fellowship Hall, right in there to the Ryman. And, the honky-tonks at the bottom of the block, Music Road just on the other side, world-class university education all around. You're thinking like, man, how are we gonna get after it? Like, what is this gonna look like? Yes, what you would expect and experience with high quality Sunday morning and Wednesday night, but we are fooling ourselves if we think that's going to be it. That's going to be enough. So we're having conversations about what does it look like to be church for the city? How do we engage our city with the gospel? We're in R&D right now for what is this going to look like to care for the urban poor. Just a brief little, it's just a little wavelength of reflection, but we're realizing like, man, we don't need the clothes closet that we once did. So, we actually just, took care of, sold off and wisely stewarded like what we had, because we're starting to see something, Mike. The urban poor looks different in 2020 than it did in 1990.
There you go.
And the urban poor that rocks up now, they need a pair of affordable boots, some tube socks, some sweatpants, a hoodie, a Carhartt jacket. It's like, it's just different. They don't need,
and they need a place to charge your phone.
There it is. They just the need is not somebody's old suit for a job interview, and the dynamics are changed. So it's like, man, what is that? So that's just something that comes up. It's like, man, what is caring for the urban poor going to look like in a new day? A lot of, and you've been very helpful for some conversations around this. We think about you think about like most of the people who could come here, they actually live 30 to 45 minutes from here, but they spend 5 days of the week around the building.
Right.
So what is this faith and work ministry going to look like? What is partnering with people in the marketplace going to look like? What are lunchtime Bible talks going to look like? Modeled after the ministry of Dick Lucas over there at St. Helens at Bishopsgate in London, right there in the city. And then, man, come on. Is it going to be, what kind of pioneering and innovation can we find? Co-working opportunities for the city. There's all kinds of exciting potentials. And it's like, yes, like the experience of a gathered local church. Here's Wednesday night, here's Sunday morning. Man, known for top tier, faithful, gospel-centered instruction, good modes of discipleship and leadership development. But like reaching the city and ministering to the city. It's probably going to have all these other hubs of activity going on outside of when the church formally gathers. How do we use the space to convene the city, to serve the city from
and
that
disciple
space?
and release your people to that ministry?
Yeah. So those that like half day we get between the Sunday night and the Sunday morning, it's like, man, welcome. The hospital for the sick is open again. Let's patch you back up, encourage you. Let's put that wound together. Man, here's the gospel. Here's mission instruction. Okay, let's go get it. But the real point of all of this is what happens in those 6.5 days that you're not in this building.
Right. Yeah, there's 168 hours in a week.
There it is.
We have a handful of hours.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah.
And expect to undo everything the world does in the rest of that time.
Yeah.
So that's just stuff. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be with you.
He's Thomas West. He is the pastor of First Baptist Church Nashville downtown. If you're looking for a church home, First Baptist Nashville is well worth your time to check out. Get to know Thomas. Have a cup of coffee with him, and see if maybe your future and what God's doing in your life aligns with what God is doing in that church. Now, we can get this book
in July.
But we can pre-order it now.
Yeah, Amazon, wherever books are sold. Gospel Way Catechism.
Wherever books are sold. The Gospel Way Catechism, Trevin Wax and Thomas West. We thank you for being with us. We thank you for being with us, and we will see you next time. I'm Mike Glenn, and this is the Engaged Church Network podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Engaged Church Network podcast. We exist to train healthy and skilled leaders for congregations throughout Middle Tennessee. If today's episode helped you, share it with a fellow leader. And don't forget to visit engagedchurchnetwork.com for more ways to grow.